Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and today I wanted to review Black Mesa. And Black Mesa is the fan-made remake of the original Half-Life game that was given the go-ahead by Valve, and it just came out a couple of days ago. I know it's been in early access for a while, but this game has been about 14 years in the making, and it just came out a couple of days ago, and it is a modern masterpiece. And the first thing I want to just put out here, just full disclaimer before we get into this review, I have not played the original Half-Life game, so I know that's going to be a huge factor in a lot of people's reviews on this game, but I just mainly wanted to focus on, since it's kind of a new person's perspective, I wanted to review it as if it was a modern game like any other. So just, competing with Doom that's coming out now and stuff like that, I just wanted to compare it at a modern level and give it just a fair chance and not kind of look at it from nostalgia, because I know a lot of people, Half-Life is an amazing game, but people can tend to be caught up in nostalgia, so I think it's a very interesting perspective from someone that actually hasn't played the original Half-Life game. But that all said, this is legit one of the best games I have played in years, and it's probably because, one, the original Half-Life game is so good, as many people say, and then also this is just a fantastic remake that you can tell a lot of work got put in it. And just, off the bat, I am such a wuss when it comes to horror movies or anything like that, or just, horror in video games. And this game is kind of spooky, I ain't even gonna lie, because there's occasional jump scares, or it puts you in intense moments where you're walking on a bridge and the bridge falls and you land in water with piranhas and, stuff like that. And just off the bat, I just want to tell you, for some reason, I have an irrational fear of swimming in 3D games. And actually, a quick plug here for the podcast that I just launched. I just launched a podcast with some friends called Media Crash, and on the first episode, we talked about the horror genre in video games or games. And so I actually talked a little bit more about my irrational fear of swimming in 3D games. But that all said, plug aside, there's a lot of that in this game. And I'm just going to say that because I normally would not get past that. Like I said in the podcast, there's been times where water levels happen and I get so scared that I don't play, I just stop playing the game. But this game is so good that I worked past all of it to beat the game, because I ultimately did beat the game. It took me about 12 hours between 3 days, but I did it. And I just want to say it has some of the best level design in any FPS game I have ever played. Half the time you're ducking through vents or climbing through sewers, or you're doing parkour on buildings and stuff like that. And in the parts where you're kind of climbing through things to get to next level, to the next area, to the next level, it makes it feel really, really claustrophobic. And I think that's the point, because the whole point at the beginning is, you're in this facility and you're having to sneak your way through and, work through things that don't have power, and there's a lot of parkour in it, and I think that's really, really awesome. And somehow this game ends up being, it's a very super linear game. It has you go through the exact points and places that it wants you to go through, but it doesn't make you think that. It has these huge, what look to be wide open areas at times, but it somehow directs you exactly where you need to go. And obviously there are some dead ends and some places you can't go to, so you have to, you're kind of being forced to go through linear, but the game doesn't, it makes it feel like you're the one discovering it. It makes it feel like you are a genius. And it does that by sometimes, maybe there's two alternate paths that you can go through, and then they both lead to the same thing. Or even just small subtle things, say there's this vent that you have to pop out of. Well, there might be two parts to the vent, but they both end up, snaking their way into a same room. So it just constantly makes you feel like you are exploring, but you keep progressing the story, because overall it's very linear. And one of the clever things I think I've noticed that it does is it lets color guide you. So as an example, when you're in the beginning facility areas, there's a lot of buttons and doors and security checkpoints, most of which you can't open or go through. They're locked. And the way you can tell that is most of them have red buttons on them or subtle red lights to them. And so when you're looking through a level and you're looking at 6 doors that all look the same, this one door, oh, there's kind of some green lighting over here. Maybe I should go check that out first. And what do you know? It's the right answer, and it progresses me through to the linear kind of progression that it is. But like I said, it makes it feel like you're the one discovering that. And it's so clever, and once you can't really explain it super well until someone just plays it. But the level design in this game is amazing. And on top of that, it's not just a first-person shooter, obviously. It is like a puzzle platformer, and it has even some physics elements to it because it is the source engine. But it's really awesome because it gives it a nice change of, pace. So when you want action, you'll get action. When you kind of need a breather, sometimes it even lets you just explore kind of like a path. It'll be like, okay, well, I want you to go down this, hallway and look at all of these spooky things I'm going to throw at you, but it's not going to be action-based, or there's not going to be a puzzle. It kind of is giving you a breather and just letting you take in the scenery, and it really makes the levels, kind of stand out more because it gives you time to look at them. And also, it gives it a breather. But the shooting mechanics aren't, secondhand at all. Just because it's not a full-on first-person shooter, they are still there. And the shooting mechanics in this game are amazing. The gunplay is spectacular. The weapon choice is amazing. So much so that, in other first-person shooter games, a lot of the times people will stick to one or two guns, what their best are. But in this, the ammo is limited with different ammo types. So first of all, you're kind of being forced to use that. But every weapon has its different kind of uses and negatives and benefits. So the revolver is really good for just killing things far away, obviously, in my playthrough, that you didn't want to have to shoot a lot at. The shotgun obviously was good at really close up things. There is this one thing, gun that it's alien technology that you put on your hand and you shoot these like homing bees, and I am terrified of the things in water, like I said. So for all these piranha things, I eventually found out that they actually like still home underwater a little bit, so you can just stay out of water, shoot them in the water in the general direction of those piranhas and kill them. Otherwise, I never really used that gun, but I still somehow found a use for one of my least favorite guns, and it ended up being my favorite because it made me a little less scared at those water levels, because for some reason I'm scared of water levels. But every weapon has its purpose, and it's amazing, and the ammo kind of juggling is really awesome as well, and it really makes you think, not just I'm going to shoot everything I see, but how am I going to shoot everything I see? And I think that's really awesome. And the gunplay in itself, it doesn't feel dated. That was one thing I was worried about. Obviously, I have heard from some people that the original Half-Life game, it does feel a little bit dated in certain regards, because, it's an old game. It's been a while since it's come out, but from playing this remake, I don't know how much got changed, but I didn't feel that at all. I thought it wasn't dated. The gunplay felt really good. It felt like a Source game. I've played tons of Source games, thousands of hours in them, so that might help, but it didn't feel bad at all to me. And on top of that, the game looks spectacular. So we're talking about, a game being remade and all of that stuff. One of the best things they did for this is just making it look spectacular and modern. It looks modern. Obviously it doesn't look as good as the newest Doom game or like Witcher 3, obviously, but it doesn't look, you don't look at it and think it's dated. It does really look good. And on top of that, there are some levels that are actually really impressive to look at. And one example is the kind of like toxic waste. When you start getting in that first early chapter with all the toxic waste, it looks really, really cool. And then on top of that, the Zen levels, which we'll talk about in a second. And just the music as well. The soundtrack is one of the best soundtracks I have heard in any game. It just pulls you and immerses you into the game so well. When there's a super huge action part, there's going to be some banger going on that just pumps you up. Or when the game is trying to spook you, the game will freaking spook you with some spooky music. And so the visuals and the music are amazing, and they definitely are modern to me. And that's, kind of starting to see why I'm crafting this review, is it's a modern masterpiece. And now let's just talk about the Zen levels, because I know that that's what people were waiting for the longest time, because this game was in early access for a while. One of the things they were waiting for is the remake of the Zen levels, because apparently the Zen levels were alright. There were a lot of time constraints in the original game, and so the Zen levels didn't get as much love as they needed, and in this, that is one of the biggest things they worked on, and the most original stuff. I think they added a bunch of new levels to it, and it is just the best part of the entire game, flat out. Once you get out of that like facility area and all of this stuff in playing, pretty much the first like 65%, you were treated to an amazing climax to the game. The Zen levels lasted me about like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it is breathtaking. The atmosphere, I mean, it just looks spectacular. The music that plays there is insane, and then also just the puzzles are some of the best in the entire game. The platforming is some of the best in the entire game. Just the way, the level design as well. We're talking about how good the level design is. The level design is just the best in the Zen area, and it's definitely one of those examples of it makes you feel like you're in this huge, world, this huge universe, and yet you somehow, even though you're being put in this really linear level design, it doesn't feel linear at all. I mean, obviously, if you were to go replay this, maybe this doesn't have the best replay value ever, besides like speed running, but I do know there's some alternate paths that could help out with that, but it doesn't feel like you're in a linear game at all, and I really want to hit the head on the nail that that's probably one of the best things in this game is the level design. And the combat and the enemies in the Zen levels are really awesome. And it's just one of the most original parts in the game. They had to create entire new levels for this because they wanted to put a lot of work in it. And it's one of the best parts of this game, and that's saying a lot. It's helping say this isn't just, Half-Life 1 with a, kind of shoddy but decent remake, fan-made remake. They're really smart. I mean, the levels and the things that they did, and obviously I don't know all of the differences between the original Half-Life and Black Mesa, so there are probably some things that you might be wanting me to say that I'm just ignorant to because I didn't play the original Half-Life game, but all I can really say is this is just one of the best games I have played, and like I said, I'm a newcomer, and I do think that kind of puts an interesting spin on the review because I'm seeing if it holds up to modern times, which is when it came out, 2020, versus kind of some people that might have nostalgia, and for good reason. Half-Life 1 isn't, spectacular, but I want to just put nostalgia aside and just say, without a doubt, this game is incredible, whether you have played Half-Life 1 or whether you have not, because I could totally see this being amazing if you've played Half-Life 1, and then you can see how amazing Black Mesa is. I'm sure that's a treat as well. So I would really recommend this game to pretty much anyone. It is spectacular. It is a pretty spooky, atmospheric game. I know I'm a little bit of a wuss when it comes to that, but I think definitely it gives you some creepy vibes sometimes. But definitely buy it now if you're interested. It is amazing. And if you have played the original Half-Life game and you're just kind of seeing some differences, or if you have played Black Mesa, let me know in the comments down below. Did you guys enjoy it? And I'm especially interested to hear if you played the original Half-Life game, what are your thoughts on Black Mesa? Because like I said, I haven't played the original Half-Life game. But either way, guys, if you enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more content. New videos come out about twice a week, and on top of that, we have the podcast that I've kind of shilled a little bit. That is once a week on Friday mornings, so definitely check the podcast out. You can also follow me on Twitter. Sometimes I kind of, detail what I'm doing in games. So this entire time I've been playing Half-Life, I've probably tweeted out about like 8 different updates, just kind of where I was, what I was enjoying, what parts I was on, and it's kind of just could possibly be interesting to listen to the stupid things I say. But either way, guys, if you guys are having a great day today, I hope you continue having a great day. If you guys aren't having a great day, I hope you guys start having a great day. But either way, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. See you guys next time.